Hello, 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 hello. Good evening, good evening. Welcome to the panel. So this evening we decided to have a conversation. It was over a week ago I had a conversation. It was just by myself, sharing some things. And today we will be talking about music. Talking about music. Just talking about what it means to be a musician, some of the things or personal experiences, and just to give persons insight into our lives and what we go through as musicians because persons thinking that seeing us perform that that is just something that is just fun and there's no hard work in being a musician. So I've decided that it's time for us to have a conversation. So I'm just going to start out just playing you a piece, and then we're going to bring on some of the guys and we're going to talk. All right. So feedback, make your comments, tell us what you feel, how you're feeling, and your thoughts about certain things that we'll talk about. All right. So there's no script. Just having a conversation. All right. All right, welcome, 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 welcome to the panel. Let me see my people. Welcome, Mr. Sam Soft, recording artist, international recording artist, Mr. Sam Soft, out from Boston, Massachusetts, and Mr. Samuel Archer, producer, singer, author. Man, you get a lot of titles, Sammy. Cool, cool, cool. We're supposed to, what is that? Right,
Hybrid
the
executive.
hybrid executive.
That's right.
Sam Soft, do you have that book? Sam Soft, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
Okay, yeah, you can hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Yeah, man, I
Good.
was saying if you did you were you privileged in purchasing Sammy's book, the hybrid.
No, I didn't know, I don't know anything about this book. He didn't tell me. I'm just
Well,
hearing it for the first time.
well, you're gonna find out tonight. So
You'll find out tonight.
well, these guys are my buddies here, brothers in Christ, homies, and quite often we talk about music and some of the things that we go through as musicians, especially in this time, you know. And no one looks out for the musicians. Hey, sax girl Barb, welcome, welcome. Barbara,
Hello.
yes, people, that's Barbara. Barbara,
Hi.
all the way from St. Catherine, Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Yeah. So Barbara is a saxophonist, aspiring recording artist. She's working on her first album. She did her single was last earlier this year, right? Yeah.
Last year,
So
yes.
yeah. So we're just having a conversation, man. We have a few more guys going to be coming on here, and we just want to talk. So Sammy, what? Tell the people a little about what you do, man.
Remember,
So
you
I'm
have to
a
tell me here.
Well, Sam Archer. So I'll say Sam Soft, and I'll say Sammy. So
Here we
Sammy is
go.
Samuel Archer. So I'll say Sam Soft, Minister Sam Soft. Yeah. Go ahead, Sammy. Tell us a bit
so
of
so the soft is going first or the archer is going first?
Archer. The hard one.
Greetings to the family, those who are tuning in. I'm Sam Archer, producer, songwriter, arranger. Just recently author uh, of the book Hybrid Executive, and I'm actually wearing the T-shirt here, Hybrid Executive. And I've spent practically almost a lifetime just doing music. Grew up SDA as well, so a lot of my time was spent within the SDA uh, denomination in terms of from MV to no wait it was mission volunteers,
Yeah, missionary volunteer.
missionary volunteers to AY Adventist Youth and to adulthood. So I've been in the mix for a minute and seen many different changes. I've seen all types of things happen. We've moved from Stone Age to the Information Age,
Mm-hmm.
the age of the home sweet home lamp to the age of the switch. All types of things happen. We've moved from Stone Age to the Information Age,
Mm-hmm.
the age of the home sweet home lamp to the age of the switch. All types of things happen. We've moved from Stone Age to the Information Age,
Mm-hmm.
the age
So
of
we
the
echo
home
in here.
sweet home lamp
We're
to
in a
the
loop.
age of the switch. All types of things happen. We've moved from Stone Age to the Information Age,
Mm-hmm.
the age
So
of
we
the
echo
home
in here.
sweet home lamp
We're
to
in a
the
loop.
age of the switch. All types of things happen. We've the Information Age.
Mm-hmm.
Everything all right? Everything all right?
I can hear you, but I don't know if he can hear you.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Okay, everything was kind of echoing there.
Yeah.
Everything all right? Repeating. See that?
Yeah, you can go ahead. I can hear you, but I don't know if he.
That's like a delay, or somebody has a delay on or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
There's like a delay or an echo setup. Technology, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, this needs to be set to the home page.
How are we now? Okay. Producer said we're good. Go ahead, Sammy.
We good?
Yeah, we good.
Okay, that was really interesting there for a second.
I was wondering if Paula White was involved in some way or the other. So, but,
Paula White. Good one. I mean, so that's basically it. I was happy to produce one of your records, Courtney, the Journey
yes,
project. That
Right.
was definitely a good working experience.
Yeah.
We had a lot of jokes, yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of creativity, and here we are. I'm on your show, and we want to talk about the challenges that we face.
Challenges.
Yeah.
I was talking. Hey, welcome again, Nisha.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
What's
Look
up?
at that beautiful face. You guys know Nisha, right?
Really?
Yeah, Nisha
Hi,
Walker.
everyone. The
Now,
two
uh,
Sams okay. And the lily
How
on
are
the
you?
bottom.
And that's
Good.
Barbara. You met
And
Barbara before?
Barbara. No, I haven't.
Sax
but
Bar?
nice meeting you. Oh, I've heard her play. Yeah.
Yes. Where's she gone? She gets scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Sammy, man, that was cool working on that album. You know, I didn't want to be selfish in terms of having a conversation. I wanted to bring persons on because we have various issues that we go through as musicians and the sacrifices, and I just want us to talk because people see us sometimes and they see you dress cool and you're looking good on stage and people take it for granted. For example, I've been doing this. We've been on social media performing for several months, many months. It's going on for a while. And my mom asked me the other day. She said, "You're selling a lot of albums, eh? You've been." I was like, "Yeah." And people, I'm gonna say it right here. I've sold 6 albums. It sounds like a dream, right? So can you imagine?
When you say 6 albums, 6 albums,
Six
since it's been-
CDs. I've sold 6 CDs. Six
Okay.
CDs. 6 CDs.
since
and-
COVID or since your career.
Since no, but that would have been bad. That would have been bad. That would have been bad, right?
I'm
Since
telling you, man.
since COVID, man, since COVID, one of my friends bought 2, and her sister bought 4. One of my friends, and people say it looks glamorous and everything, and I'm counting up all the stuff that I had to buy since COVID. I think we spent about $3,000 buying stuff.
Wow.
Um,
From
About
6
3.
CDs, brethren?
6
Wow.
CDs. Says like how many fish and bread Jesus they turn into how much hundreds and thousands. Not the same something.
Two fish and 5 barley loaves.
Courtney,
Was it barley or whole wheat?
do you mean 6 of each album, or do you mean you just? I don't understand.
All right. You guys keep talking. I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean. Just give me a minute.
This is a joke. We don't mean to laugh, but
Hey, laugh when you can, we're alive.
yeah,
Laugh when you can.
right.
What you going for?
Oh my goodness. What about
So,
you, Mr.
like where we're going, music, like one
Yeah.
thing I always like to say,
Mm-hmm.
the reason why most people treat gospel artists poorly is because they see them as musicians. You have to understand that they are not just musicians. We are gospel, yeah, we are music ministers. We are also co-workers, like the ushers. The ushers department is one of the special department in the body of Christ.
Yeah.
So when they look down on that office, you are looking down on the power force of the house, because the music is the power force. Because the most important section of a service of worship is worship. The most important part of the service is the worship, because that is the only thing that God can inhabit. That is the only thing we can give to Him. It doesn't need our revelation. It doesn't need our messages. It doesn't need our big grammars. It doesn't need all that. Those grammar hands here, it stays with us here. We are the ones that need it. You don't need it. So our office is the most important in the service. So that's why I get mad when after the worship session and you hear somebody try to introduce the pastor and you hear them say, "We've come to the most important part of the service." I look at them, I was like, you don't know your Bible. The most important part of the service just passed. Because the most important part of the service is the worship. Because that's the only thing that God accepts. That's the only thing that God takes. That's the only part that that we give to God.
Yeah.
The other part is for us. And so if the church realize that and recognize that, they'll start treating the gospel artists specially, differently.
Yeah.
So just so Nisha was asking earlier when I said 6, what I meant, right? So you see this? Can you count this? It says 3 and 3, 6.
You went and got all your CDs.
Wow.
I had to, I never really want to talk about it because what happened, Sam's off. What happened, right? Over the years, when I started doing music in churches, if you talk about certain things, this is where you go to a concert or you go to church and you try to say something. You hear people say things like, sing. Yes, don't talk, sing. Right? Or, stuff like that. So persons wouldn't allow you to testify or stuff like that. That in some churches.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call which churches or denomination, but some of them, they used to be like that. Right? So I had to make a point that when persons see me coming up here and doing these concerts and stuff, and I'm bringing my friends on this platform, I don't really ask Nisha and I, and some persons would share their experiences with me. Someone called me a few days ago, frustrated, right? And he said to me, he's like, man, and we were talking about family and the things that those of us who have kids and were married and stuff like that, the pain that you go through, because and part of it, we have allowed ourselves to be used by persons, right? And he said, man, I failed my family. I failed my kids. I was almost in tears. He said, all these years I've been giving to the church. And you feel because you felt you have been called by God, right, to do this thing. Now, because of the abuse that we have faced in the church, a lot of us stop. Some people go to church every Saturday and Sunday, but they can sing and they can play and they would not even touch a key. Right? They decide that you're not going to do that to me. And person going to say you're going to speak. God is going to deal with you. But God is going to deal with you because you had the ability to bless that person or to respect them. And some of the things that we do in church, we would never honor those that are in our church, in our churches. So we'll prefer to bring someone else from the outside into that congregation, and you pay them while you have a person singing and playing in church week after week. And sometimes what you could have done is not even so much if you can't afford to pay, or the person was being kind enough that coming around the end of the year, give them a gift. It wouldn't take much. It's not your money, it's the church's money. You could give them $1,000 and said, brother, sister, you have been a blessing to this congregation. God bless you.
Yeah.
Most of the time,
Are we speaking in general, or this is just like a specific denomination we're talking about?
no, I'm saying, no, in general.
In general.
In general. Because
Well,
a lot of,
in general, I've been blessed. You know, there are other denominations have, they flew me in from certain places, and the congregations weren't really that big. A really small, dedicated congregation did major things. But the denomination I grew up in, they, very cheap and always crying that they have no money and they don't plan nothing. And we're here busting with tail, working hard, and they don't see it. They think, well, we owe them something. So let's start there.
well, but what I was talking about, is, so I'm just saying, there's churches who you'd be playing and you're not asking for anything. You just giving to the church. I'm saying, and we take it for granted that I'm saying at the end of the year or something, give the person a gift.
Yeah,
My
like
person,
what company was trying to say is that apart from the fact that people that is been opportune to, like you, Sam, and myself, and some other people that have been able to, break the barriers, and then now they can fly you from anywhere. They can fly us first class. We can fly out. That there are other ones that are coming up that we need to also speak for. Even though that they didn't just start flying me first class or flying me everywhere. It started from somewhere.
Well, I don't have the first class stuff yet.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that
me neither.
we need to what I'm trying to say is that we need to be able to, put a standard for the artists, the gospel artists, for the music, the preachers to understand that this people's office is honorable, and they should be able to honor them regardless of their name, whether their name is big or not. For the fact that office, they are holding it, they should, honor them and encourage them. Because, most of the time, you see some of those top singers that are doing secular art, they're singing secular right now. Some of them are from the church because they were not encouraged, and, they couldn't hold like you and I are holding, but, so
what are we holding?
that's why
Hold on. What are we holding?
holding on to the faith, like not trying to do something else,
Well,
But is it?
I'll
But
interject. I'll
but
interject
what?
this here real quick. Hold on. Let me interject this.
Yes.
There's a saying: you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. Nobody in the church is going to have a really bright idea to say, you know what, brother so and so, sister so and so has been dedicating their time and dedicating their talent to help us have a beautiful service. Let's do this nice, great gesture so that they can, their ministry can continue. They can pay some bills, put some milk on the table, and all of that. We have to change the narrative, and I had one situation where this one of our churches, they needed a musician, and they had choir and all of that, and I gave them something minimal. I said, well, let's do this per week. And the guy was offended. You'd swear I asked him for $1 million, and he ended up the conversation and say he don't charge the church. So I don't know what he's doing now, but I am still here. So we'll see how that works for him. But we had to start changing. There's the whole thing where people are going to see something and move towards it. That's not going to happen.
Well, part of last night one of our artists she spoke about backstage, and she was sharing that in Trinidad she has to be going into the studios to record her videos, and then persons are just the church is just asking, and when she send like two, and then somebody said, "Well, you send this two before you don't have nothing new," and then, and in the meantime, she's going to the studio to do the stuff. And one of the things, I'm saying it publicly here, and I'm saying it. Someone sent me a request a couple days ago, and I don't know if they're listening. And this is for everybody. And the person says to me that they're asked, they would like me to perform on the program on Saturday. And she says, so I said, you know that I'm a professional musician, right? And I'm not here just to send people videos. And I wanted to stop. So anybody seeing me right now, it's not about you liking me. If you're interested in somebody's music, don't take us for granted. Because right now, I'm telling you right now in public, Courtney Fadlin stopped that today. I'm telling you, don't ask me for anything free. Because the thing is that, Sammy, when we have to spend money, and some persons like to bring God and say, oh, God, let God be praised. You understand? But when you have to travel and you get to person's church and you present something, I can only speak about my experience. I can speak about my experience, and I could talk about everyone else's here, right? Samsoft, he makes sure he's all business, but we have allowed the church to con us over the years, and they will tell you, oh, you got to give God the praise and this and that. In the meantime, you have chosen to do music. Like for me, I feel God really called me to do music. I don't want to do secular and get out there and playing in the clubs and all of that. So I say, okay, I dedicate this. And I've traveled, and I got a lot of licks. A lot of licks. I have cried a lot as a grown man. And I'm going to break it down here, right? I went through a relationship before the one I'm in right now, and I'm going to say it publicly. And when you go home and you believe that you're doing the right thing, and you travel, I said before too, and you travel from Massachusetts to New York with 100 CDs, and you go back home with 105 in your trunk. And I was like,
Where
yo,
did the five come back? Where did the five come from?
you right? And somebody said, how you do that? Well, it's because maybe the week before or 2 weeks prior to that, you went to a concert and you sold your CDs, and when the person got home and they heard a beat, because they're so conservative, hey, I hear a little reggae thing, and that is not of God. So they give you back your CDs. You know what I'm saying? So I can speak from my experience, right?
I had a few returns too from Gospel According to Sam. I had a few.
Oh yeah. see, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And personally, Sammy, look, when we work on the Journey CD, I used to travel from Massachusetts, and we go into the Bronx by Artie and recording, and you're drilling me, and you're drilling me,
Hey, pause. The other say pause after when you say drilling you. Say pause.
Say pause.
Yeah, continue.
Oh, yeah, and you keep, and it's when you go in the studio, man, you go in the recording studio, it's painful. Your back hurting you. Your mind is like, I can't do this. Let's do this tomorrow. Let's come back next week.
And you time, you pay
and you pay
money,
thousands of dollars. And a lot of times, right now, I was saying I have hundreds of CDs in New York in my friend's basement. Hey. And because of COVID right now, we can't go anywhere. When I'm on the road and I do my concerts, my CDs, they go. But everyone is at home now. They get in the concerts free. I'm not even going to tell you how much money I get sometimes. But I'm grateful for my few friends that always supporting me. But for the mass that watching the concert, we said even if 50 of you give $5, right? So... but I'm gonna let Barbara come in and say something. Say something, Barbara.
I don't have much to say, Courtney. You've covered it pretty much.
No, but I want to hear from you. We want to hear your experience.
But based on my experience from Jamaica, I get that instrumentalists, we're not really recognized to a point. Especially in the church, as we are talking about now, but more so on a wider scale, because Jamaica is really based on reggae and dancehall music and all that. So to really intertwine the instrument with it and to try to emulate that kind of culture is kind of difficult, and it's kind of monotonous, because that it's basically like in a DJ, you have just one phrase or one monotone going, just one note, and you just put some bass line to it, and that's it. For you to be playing that on a instrument, that kind of, you lose all the musicality of it. And to be like emulating that is like you are trying to go to fit in, basically, and that's not what you're all about. You want to do gospel. And when they have stuff at church like concerts and communion and what's the other one called, that long 3-day 4-day kind of thing, what's it called,
With a funeral?
conventions and
Oh,
stuff like that.
convention.
Yes, they're always telling you that it's a fundraiser, and it's just an item to edify the people, and you just get like a bottle of water and stuff like that. People don't really care much. And I mean, for me as a woman, this is a part that really affects me the most, because you guys can just wear like one pants and you just change your shirt and wear a blazer, right? For me now, I have to dress entirely. I have to fix my hair. I have to do my makeup. I have to put on a nice pretty dress. I can't repeat my dress all the time. And these things cost money, and persons don't believe that they should be paying you for your attire or for everything. And if I don't look good, you're not going to want me to represent you. I can't stand in front of you confidently and play if I don't look good. Yeah, you understand? And it's just a sore point where support is concerned. And when you try to drill these things home, even for weddings, people will pay thousands of dollars for the dress, for the venue, for the food, for the invitations and stuff like that. But when it comes to music, they want to ask you to play for free, or to ask you to just do one song, or they want a ton of songs and they don't want to pay for it. Since COVID, I have been doing several virtual concerts. People want pre-recordings, and pre-recordings kind of help to alleviate internet problems, right? So to do pre-recordings, I don't have a studio for myself, so I'd have to go to a studio, and that cost. You have to pay for studio time and transport and all these things. And that how studio time goes. You don't just go one time and get it. You have to like do 2 takes or 3 takes of a song, and that might take you up to an hour or 2 hours, stuff like that, and that costs money. And then when you're to be reimbursed, persons are taking forever. I did a show about 2 months ago, and I just got paid on Friday. And I had to be counting
Glory. I didn't see
I have to be counting like from 1 to 10 every time to tell these persons that, hey, what's up with my little thing? What's up? It's like you're asking a favor, and it's very discouraging. But I'm hanging on in there still, and I'm learning from you guys as I go along.
Yeah.
So hopefully things will get better.
I'm gonna say something here. Nadine is saying a couple of things here, and you guys could respond, and I'm gonna respond, but I'm gonna give you an opportunity. I'm gonna read some of the things she's saying.
Is Nadine the one saying things about glory to God and stuff like that?
Yeah, hold on. So she says something is missing, Courtney. So I said, what is missing is love. She said,
Yes.
okay, so I'm going to read some of it. She said, the storm is raging, but you are focusing on the waves, Courtney. And then she says, yes, she says, change your dress and all of that. But I'm going to respond to you, Nadine. I'm not focusing. I'm not focusing on that. But this is a conversation. And from my experience of doing this over 20 something years, it's important that as a Christian musician, recording artist, that I come out and I speak freely. Because a lot of our young people, they're leaving the church. And you know why they're leaving the church, Nadine? because of people who, anytime you go to church, they tell you, when you have a problem, I know the God that I serve. You don't have to tell me God is going to bless me. I know God blesses me. But if you have a business that is in line with the church, then you expect to get the support of the church. You want me to return tithe, right? You want me to give money. So I'm supposed to get it from if my job is a musician. Okay? Sammy is a producer. You can't expect Sam to do that. So you have to be careful and say, oh, you're not focusing on that. So as a Christian, we're not supposed to talk. We're supposed to talk. You have to talk about it. And I know that I inspire a lot of people. I get text messages from younger people that said, I like what you're doing. And I inspire people. But it's important to have a conversation and let people know. Stop using people. I really don't care if right now if the church collapsed tomorrow, God is still there. But you have to be careful how you treat people. You treat some musicians better than the way you treat others. I have experienced it. I have experienced it recently. So I speak from my experience. And when someone says something, don't discredit what that person has to say. It's the same thing like when someone says, I face racism. Don't tell the person, well, I don't think that's his racism. Let the person, that's what their experience. Let them speak what they've experienced. And you listen to what that person have to say. And then you could empathize, or you choose what to do, and then you could have a conversation. But never doubt when someone is sharing their experiences. So I'm based on what Nadine is saying, I'm gonna ask you guys to comment on that. Welcome, Nestor. Welcome. My buddy's always supporting me.
What I would throw into the pot is that there's two dynamics going on here. We have a dynamic of the heads. We have the dynamic of a certain type of belief, and then we have the dynamic of those of us that are feeling the pressure or the end result. And in many aspects, our system isn't really designed as other denominations to take care or to look out for the creative sector or the people that are in the creative portions of our of the whole. If you look at the whole ministerial aspect of our denomination, you have ministry is on top, you have the education is on one side, and then maybe medicine is on one side, and then it sort of stays within that realm. So all the other areas are pretty much malnourished, not just for musicians or the creative people. So some of the stuff is by default, casualty of war, you could call it, where it's just a situation that based on how it's designed, we're at the end feeling the pressure, opposed to there being a educated part of it being done, which is what we have to interject, because as Sam Soft rightfully said, what are we leaving for the other kids that's coming up? That some of us we were able to get established, but what about the others that's looking to us, that we're inspiring? What are they coming to meet? So it behooves us to have to, we have to inject something, or inject a new element into the old business model. And I don't know if business model is the right term we should say here, but into the system of what we have, and really create something that that can benefit those of us in that creative sector of the ministry of the overall ministry. So I just wanted to interject that there. But I didn't see the post from they were just saying that we're focusing on this on the, what was the comment?
Yeah, Nadine she says, our blessing flow freely with praise. God wants his people to come out of camp complaining. Praise God in the good and the bad. Our help does not come from people, it comes from God. Whatever you do, do it heartily unto God. The storm is raging, but you are focusing on the waves, Courtney. Yeah, Nadine, you're misunderstanding
Oh,
me.
so she's trying to simulate the experience of Peter walking on water.
You know, you know, man. Hey, welcome, Donna. Welcome, Donna Johnson. Welcome. You know, I had to fight hard for getting here. I went back to school 2 years ago, and their persons would say, "Well, you going back to school for?" And blah blah blah.
I was one of those people. But yeah.
Nah, but you meant well when you said that. My wife, I didn't jump up and say I'm going back to school. This was a family decision, and it was important that I go back to school. And I'm happy that my wife supported me. It was not an easy thing. I mean, last year, I was looking forward to graduation on December 7th, and you know, I'm not any more qualified than Sam Soft, who may not have gone on to do a bachelor's or master's in music, but he's qualified. And we make different sacrifices. And so, Nadine, this is not a complaint again, but it's important that we say it because we go to church. We go to church every week, and persons would see us and they think that all is well. And all is not really well. All is not well. But yeah, I'm looking for more persons to. I'm not sure what you meant by that, Nadine. You say you're glad I have a teaching background. I am sure about that. The Peter story is correct, she says. Anyway, enough of Nadine saying and all of that. But as musicians, we know we're the backbone of the church. You understand? We know we're the backbone of the church. So persons could say whatever they have to say, and that's okay. Barbara and I had this discussion. Barbara started, she's passionate about music. Barbara is a member of the Jamaica Defense Force and the military band. But Barbara loves music and she wants to play her saxophone. And one of the things I'm encouraging Barbara, said, Barbara, you don't have to do secular music. I said the church is important. You could, some persons may not agree with me to saying that to Barbara. I said, Barbara, don't even focus on recording anything secular. The church music is good. Church is not a bad thing. But we have to be careful the way we treat people. We have to be careful. I know a lot of guys that left the church for various reasons, and it's because they may not have the staying power that you and I may have. So you step on somebody's foot, you step on my foot, I might just brush it off or push you away or something like that, but I'm not going to leave. Some people, you pass too close to them and they're through the door. And then for example, the other day I mentioned I came online and you were supposed to come on, but I didn't understand the thing I was trying to do from Facebook Live because we always going from StreamYard. And one of my brothers said when he left the church that no one called him, right? So it's the same thing as for musicians. Sometimes we stop playing. I remember I have a cousin in Guyana, right? I went and I was playing the organ at church. And you can't go in churches. That church was ordained. You're not supposed to touch that. And I couldn't touch that organ at church. Rather than trying to say, hey, my young cousin, she's an old woman. But rather than saying that we should encourage the kids. And so when I can't play anymore or something like that, or we can call on these kids to play during the youth services or whatever, they just see that you're a little boy. You ain't supposed to touch. But when you get older and you have invested and your parents have invested thousands and thousands of dollars into your life, into you qualifying yourself in music, they expect you to come back and they'll talk nonsense. Oh, it's of God. So I'm going to challenge you. If it's so much about God giving you the gift of music, do you say the same thing to the pastor? That the pastor should just preach and get a regular job? Because some of you may not remember this. There was a guy maybe about 7 years ago
Mm.
You made a post about music. You always trying to tickle the people, right? And you
Yeah,
post
I'm controversial most of the
yeah,
times.
and you put something on Facebook, and this guy from Maryland came out, and he basically said, "Musician lazy. Why you don't go and look for? Why you don't go and work? You wanted people to mind you, right?" And right away, I deleted him. I deleted him from my friends. And when I go to church, I know what church he goes to. If I see him, I'll say hello, right? But I realize the way you are. You don't really. That's not love. That's not love. You don't treat people like that. And to come out and say, go and look for a job. Do you know the time that it takes to sit down and learn a song? We got to play scales. You're doing different
Well,
things.
yeah, he might is he an older guy?
Nah, he was
No,
not an older guy.
he was not an older guy.
Nah,
Because
nah, nah.
I do give the older folks a pass, because the older folks, they grew up in a time where you couldn't really follow your heart and your dreams. You just needed to learn a trade and get out there and get working.
Right.
So of course I give them that respect and everything. So a lot of times they didn't look at what we do as something important.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at it, you have to go for lessons. You starting this from a young age. I started taking piano lessons at I think I was about 6 years old. So my parents were paying. I didn't go to the music teacher for free, and from that all the way to grade 4, doing theory examinations and practical examinations. I mean, it's time consuming. So anyone who wants to really step to the plate and say what we're doing has no value, they really don't understand what ring they're going to be stepping into, especially with people like us. Because, I just have to tell you a couple of lines and you'll get the message quickly. But, what we're doing is very, very, very important. I mean, there are times I was disappointed, but I just stuck in there and helped because it wasn't about the pay, it wasn't about the pastor, it wasn't about but it was about that person who just walked into that church that morning, and they need a touch from God that day, and I stayed for that because that was more important than anything else. Um, Everyone benefit. When the tide come in, all the boats get a lift, right? So when something like that happen, and those of us who we're passionate about the music, we're also passionate about the ministry. So when you see a situation where what you contribute is going to help in a major way, it's not a big deal to put all of that aside and do what it is that we do. So, but on the other hand, when people look at it, they think it's easy. We make the job look easy too. That's the other thing. But who really, like, for example, Fadley, let's say you go to a little function, and you happen to walk with your horn, right? Regardless of what the function is.
Right.
They might say, "No, we have Brother Fadley here. Why don't you play a few notes?"
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Pop, pop, pop.
And then you pull out your saxophone and you bless the folks,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you was a plumber, what would they ask you to do? Take out your wrench and fix the pipe in the kitchen? I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's a responsibility, and there's a duty, and there's a right, and we fall into that category a lot of times. You happen to go to a church one Sabbath, and these people know that you sing, or you play, and Brother Sam is here. Why don't you come and bless us, bless our hearts? They didn't talk to you before, nothing, right?
That happens.
So that can happen, and there are times I might go to a congregation and
But you
there's
know one thing?
no one playing. I'll just get up and go and play the piano, the organ, whatever it is, and just bless up the service. just
All
for
right.
that, nothing.
So,
So that
someone is
happens.
all right, someone is asking a question here. Patrick Solomon is asking. He says some musicians play in church and for the dance hall because they're not getting paid in church. It's a gift, but it's also a job. What do you think?
Well, I mean, if it's wrong for them to play in the dance hall.
Yeah, you play in church, and then you also
Yeah.
it's part of your job. Like I know a lot of my friends in Jamaica. They go to church. They play in churches on Saturday or Sunday, but they also play
Yeah,
for
my
one of the
answer
one of
will
the
be,
dancehall artists.
yeah, my answer would be a little bit controversial because I'm a professional, you know. And as a professional, let's say you're a dentist, you don't just do the teeth of the Christian, right? You're gonna do the teeth of everybody else. Whoever walk in your door, you're doing the teeth. So if a hotel have a gig that fits what I do, and I'll do the hotel gig. I mean, dancehall is a certain there's a certain stigma to the name dancehall,
Right.
but I understand overall in the Caribbean what it means, or in America what it means. So if there's a band that need a keyboardist for the evening, let's say the Wailers need a keyboard player for the evening, and I'm familiar with the repertoire,
Okay,
and they
that's
want to
where
hire me, I will take the gig.
okay, that's where the difference coming between the music minister and the
Uh-huh.
musician.
Okay. All
The
right.
music minister would not do that. The musician would do that. Because there's two differences in the of and there's nothing wrong with the musician doing that because it's also it's like a gift for him.
Hmm.
It's just like you said, the dentist. You take care of everybody. But at the same time, it's a very very it's complicated. At the same time, because it depends on the kind of event. Because you don't want to go to a certain event where you get polluted, by their activities. So that's why it's always very complicated with the Christian musician, trying to deal with the secular activities. So it's very complicated. That's why a music minister cannot do that because you never can tell
Well,
what
well,
you're going
that's
to
why
meet.
I say my answer is controversial.
I know.
I'm a rebel. I'm rebellious. So
No, you're not.
I have a
You're not.
different type of analogy. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, to some people, they will have they'll have sort of like benchmarks as to what they will do and what they won't do, and that really
Yes.
comes in my book. That's more on a personal level. But if you have a certain position in a church or in a situation, there's some things you won't be able to do. I remember in Tobago, we have football leagues and stuff. If a guy's a referee for soccer or he's an umpire for cricket, there's certain things he could do and he can't do on duty or off duty because he's a referee. There's a certain caliber that or a certain lifestyle he has to live because that's because of the duty that he does. So you'd have that sort of the ideology, but for me personally, I have a different thing to that. So don't let my personal thing mess your groove up.
I
Now,
I did a
tell me.
class. I took a class 2 years ago. Can't remember the topic, but I'm just going to read something that I wrote here. Talk about the Christian music in a Christian framework. It talks about the creation, fall, and redemption framework lies in the heart of our Christian belief, hope, and truth, as highlighted by this writer called Turner. It goes on the bottom and says, as a Christian musician, the central message and theme of my music is redemption through Jesus. This is particularly so because it's the gift of redemption through Jesus that brings hope and happiness to what would have otherwise been a sad tale for humanity. In addition to death, the fall also introduced pain, suffering, and difficult living. And then I went on to talk about the sharing of hope, redemption through my music ministries to me, especially during my difficult times. It also enriches and comforts the souls of others. This message is conveyed, for example, in two of my latest albums. Hymnology 2 and Still Standing, which feature my interpretation of the hymns Day by Day and Come Thou Fount, as well as the popular song Total Praise. And I went on, I'm just going to read this last paragraph. It says, based on these specifically Christian message in my music as a saxophonist, I mostly envision myself in the innermost circle. To a lesser extent, however, I also picture myself in Turner Third Circle. This is because some of my pieces contain messages of love, joy, and peace, which are not uniquely Christian. Interestingly, despite the fact that one of my favorite composers, J.S. Bach, composed music for the church, he had hundreds of compositions, which were both secular and sacred. Hence, I envision his musical art based on the writer, that his music pieces do not appear to fall into any particular worldview. I hope you guys understand what I just shared there. So all of this in line with what you could ask the question: Can a Christian play secular music? Or some would say, or some might say, want to say that you can't be a Christian and play secular music. Go ahead, Samsov.
Okay, I also was trying to explain. You can be a Christian and play secular music. It doesn't mean that you can not be a music minister and play secular music, because that's contradicting. Because your music minister cannot play secular music, but you can be a Christian church member and be playing a secular music, because that's your business. Like you handle that as business. Okay, now, there is what I was going to say about a Christian playing a gospel artist or a gospel musician playing in maybe in the club or in a secular gathering. We have to understand one thing. The Bible didn't tell us to go into the church. It says, go ye into the world and preach the gospel. So if you are going to go to, if they are inviting you as a gospel artist to come minister, you can actually be able to minister in a club if you are invited to minister in a club. You can also be able to minister anywhere. It doesn't matter where you are, but you have to be representing yourself the right way. So then that I was trying to correct that so that people don't think that, okay, as a gospel artist, if you're invited to certain places, because they are all secular, they are not Christians, then you can't go. No, you can go there and minister the word of God and bless the people, because we are called to be a blessing to the world. That is our calling. We are supposed to be out there to reach out to the people that need to hear the word of God through our music. And so, now there's something I want to read to us, because I know some people don't like the word business. So, why do you bring business? It's not a business. Music is business. Gospel is business. The word business is defined as an organization or enterprising entity engaged in commercial, industrial, or professional activities. The church is an organization. So the church is a business. So we have to understand that as gospel artists, we have to have the mind of a businessman. Because when God was creating the world, he had a mind of a business, because he put the world together. He was calculative. He was calculated. He made man, he made the world, and he says, everything looks good. Because he would put it together, he organized it. So also as we as gospel artists, we have to put ourselves together and organize ourselves together. We are Levites. We are the Levites.
Welcome, Asel.
Say that again?
Now we're welcoming Asel Jean-Pierre.
Hey, you're welcome. So
Asel Jean-Pierre Senior.
We have to understand how to carry ourselves. You see, that's why, like me, sometimes people don't understand. They don't know that I'm a reverend too. I'm a ordained reverend. You know, some of us, we have doctorate. We don't even say it. We keep it silent. We have to let these pastors know that we have the same educational level they went to, like in the Bible school they went to. Most of us went to a lot of Bible schools. So you have to carry yourself in certain way. The way you present yourself, that's the way they're going to handle you. That's why I always talk to my music ministers. I encourage them. You don't have to be arrogant, but you just have to respect yourself, respect your office.
Let me interject. I'm sorry. Let me interject here. So in the let's say in the SDA circuit, the pastor doesn't really make a choice here. It's really more of a conference. It's conference heads making choices. So
okay, that's the Seventh-day Adventist.
Yeah, but some other denominations have the same setup. So you may have a denomination where it starts and ends with if that denomination where the pastor has that leadership. But if you belong to a system that deal with a conference and it has sort of like all these different departments and sectors and so on, that pastor can't really make that choice. So even if I become a reverend or I become a pastor, but I'm also a musician, I can't say to that pastor that I'm ministering with, well, I have similar qualifications to you. It really comes down to what does that conference see, and how would they set the church up so that the musicians. So let's say you create a caucus or you create a group, you create an organization within the denomination. How would the heads that make these choices or decisions see that organization, or how would they see this group, or how would they see this caucus,
exactly what I was trying to say.
how would they see this board, right?
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. The way you carry yourself.
Well, it's not about that, because
the way you organize yourself.
To a degree, but that's not 360 degrees in all circuits. You're gonna have sectors that they see it, they understand it, and they're just not going to do anything about it.
You know what? If they see it that way, they can have you. You don't have to go there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm not there. But my point is, I'm not there.
No. We are talking to. This forum. We are trying to talk to upcoming artists. We are talking in general right now. We cannot just tie it to just one particular set of people. I'm talking about us as artists, as individuals. The way we carry ourselves, the way we organize ourselves. We don't have to plead for them to have us. No.
Right.
You have a special gift, and then we are doing it with all our heart. We're doing it for the Lord, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, as you are doing it for God, you have to, have a standard. For instance, they want to bring you, they need to know, how you can get there. You're not going to walk down to the place. Somebody to get you there is going to cost money to get you there. You need to put all those things together. So when they say that, you are organized like that, then they can have you. For instance, personally, I don't charge. I'm not saying you can't charge, but I'm saying, like, personally, I don't charge, but I have a standard. And if you cannot follow that standard, because God is an instruction given to me by God, myself, just me, I'm not talking about anybody. Personally, I used to charge. The reason why I was charging before, because I didn't like to charge, because I know I was doing it for the Lord. But because of the attitude of some people you will meet, they will not treat you well. You will go there with your own transportation. You will take care of the people. You will bless the people. The people will be so blessed. And the pastor will say, God bless you. You are so anointed. I enjoyed your ministry. I have gone through all that. I suffered that a lot, but God has been blessing me. I didn't allow that to discourage me, but I was almost discouraged. You know what I'm saying? But I learned something that I prayed about. Then that's when I started. You know what? I need to tell them this is what I need. This is what you can pay me for me to come. So I was doing that for a while, and then God said, "No, you can't do that. Don't do that for me." He said, "Don't do that." this is how you should handle them now. And he gave me an instruction which I followed. My accommodation, my transportation, it has to be a standard. So I can't go to a program too tired. I can't bless the people. I can't go to a program and then after the program, you don't bless me. He says, hey, if you go to a place and they don't treat you well, don't go back there again. That's what God told me.
Why would you want to do that?
Go to a place and we're not treated well, do not return to that place. So that's my standard. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'd say to people, you have to get a certain way of you organize yourself, carry yourself, and you know your God. We know our God. Our God is not.
Let's bring in Barbara, and then we're going to welcome. Thanks, Sam. thanks, Sam. So let's hear from Barbara. Then we're going to welcome hear from Asel.
Okay, guys. I just wanted to interject that this is like history repeating itself in terms of, well, I play in the military band, as Courtney told you, and I play classical music, right? And basically, the history of the military band, or how the military band came about in the army, was to bring about classical music to the masses who couldn't afford to go to a Beethoven concert or a Wagner concert, or, So the military band, which is the army, would play this kind of music. They would arrange it for the band, because that an orchestra would consist of stringed instruments like violins and stuff like that. So we would take the Beethoven music and arrange it for the military band, who plays mostly wind instruments, and then we would accommodate the masses, or the poorer class of people, and play the music for them so that they could be introduced to them. It's just like opera. Some people cannot afford an opera ticket, so we would perform the same opera for them, right? And in those days, music was something that is just like now, when you drop a hit, you make tons of money off it, and then after a while, those musicians back then, they just died poor, because after a while, persons just want to say, yeah, man, this sound good, well done, and they play it a few times, and then that was it. There was no system of royalties and stuff like that. And it's the same thing happening now, where persons are just telling you, yeah, man, you are gifted, you're talented, I love it, can you play at my house next week? Can you do me a favor? Can you this, can you that? And you're not compensated. It's the same thing in a cycle, going on, and persons normally give due diligence to persons who they think are in certain capacities. For instance, in Jamaica, I noticed that we are a very religious set of people. So we would have some church rules that apply to dress code and stuff like that, type of music and stuff like that. Certain rhythms you can't play in certain churches, like Pentecostal churches. You can't play a gospel rhythm with a DJ thing, bass rig or something like that. You can't do that, right? But if Kirk Franklin comes from overseas, or Mary or one of those hip groups, and they come and they do a rap gospel, everybody jumps to it. But if you do it, you the host musician, or the musician of the church, you play something of a similar pattern or feel, they don't want to hear you, but they welcome the overseas people. And they would pay these people and accommodate them, put them up, treat them well, and then you who are there every Saturday or every Sunday, they don't pay you any mind. It's a cycle, and I don't know how we're gonna break this cycle or this trend. And even in COVID, where we have basically been introduced to how people really think and how they really are selfish. If it was a case where your music is your bread and butter, how do people eat? Even know that bootleg and the internet is around. People don't buy CDs anymore. People just download stuff. People just copy stuff, and I don't know. How does this thing help us, the musicians? How can we?
There are ways to make it work.
Hold on, Sam. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let Donna finish. Barbara finish. Then we're gonna bring Astel. Then you could come in. Let's hear. Astel
I think I'm finished. But basically, I'm just saying it's just a cycle, and it's just something that, because we have not broken this cycle,
Mm-hmm.
It's haunting us. Whitney Houston and all those people, they came from church,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to just leave and find some more footage, in the world. And they still have the power because it's a gift. So anything they sing, even after they are secular rise, you're still gonna feel it because they have the gift.
Mm-hmm.
But church people are not facilitating this gift. Aretha Franklin and people like that, when you hear them sing, and you feel the power and the anointing and all that, people just say, yeah, man, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, if they didn't venture out into the world, where would they be now? And we
Mm-hmm.
need to break that cycle. We need to speak out. And you can't have persons who are speaking against it and then there's other persons who accommodate it. It's gonna be contrary, you
You,
know?
you, you, you can't help that. It's going to happen. It
So
has been happening. It's going to
I
happen.
don't know.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Barbara. Let's welcome Marcel Jean Pierre, pianist extraordinaire and composer, arranger, engineer, daddy, grandpa, husband, all of the
Yeah.
titles. Yes.
Oh my God.
Woo.
Grandpa!
Yes, sir. Hello, everyone. Everyone. I mean, what a subject. What a subject. I gotta say, first of all, thank you for inviting me to join
You're
this
welcome.
unexpected event.
Yeah.
I was just browsing online, and when I saw you, Courtney Fidland live, I clicked on it, and I can tell you, I found myself broiling on my seat. I nearly jumped off that seat, but I gotta tell Barbara, you got another brother on the planet. I appreciate your comments, everything that you said, and also Samuel Archer. Now, before I say much, let me be very clear. As a born SDA PK musician, I must say and let everybody and let the world know that I'm probably the best well treated Seventh day Adventist musician on the planet. For the last 15 years, I've been working with a special pastor. I didn't say a special church because the churches tend to be the same. But in my case, yeah, they're all the same, trust me. But in my case, because the head is a pro musician, he has the flexibility to set the tone that most pastors can't. So, whatever I say has nothing to do with the Palm Bay SDA Church. And let me make it clear that the Palm Bay is led by a musician. So, therefore, when you have a pastor who's a pro musician, he's going to pave the way for another pro musician that another pastor can. Do I make sense right there?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Having said that, as a pro musician, I I wanted to clarify something because we're talking about musicians all over the place. I kind of follow the conversation tonight, and we seem to be talking generally about musicians serving the church. We can't put all of them in the same basket. For example, myself, I am a professionally trained classical pianist with a graduate degree from the Haitian Conservatory of Music. So is my sister, Dr. Elkin Jean Pierre. She is also a professional pianist. But the difference between the two of us is that she practices medicine and I practice full time music. She doesn't do choir rehearsal. She's not in charge of leading the music ministry of any church. That's what I do on a full time basis. So our background and our daily lives is very different. So what may apply for my sister when she plays for her church on Saturdays, then goes back home cannot be applied to my case, who's a full-time musician serving the church, handling the praise team, handling the choirs, handling the male chorus, you name it, children's choir, youth choir, senior choir, presenting cantatas, from doing the Hallelujah chorus. My sister's a church pianist, but she has no time for that kind of stuff. I do. So although we are both two church musicians, you can't put both of us in the same basket. So therefore, how a church is going to treat my sister, Dr. Elkin, I'm not going to allow a church to treat me that way. Point blank. And I posted in one of my comments on Facebook that I don't mind being an Uber driver, a cab driver, if needs be. But I will not do both. I will not serve a church full time and on Monday morning have to drive a cab. If I have to drive a cab, then I'll live a free life from serving churches. If I'm serving the church, that church better be able to take care of my bills. We have to set the tone and choose which way we want to go, what we want to do. Now, I can understand and tell you about how our SDA churches treat musicians better than most musicians can on the planet. I have witnessed it. I have lived through it for 23 years. When I joined that church, I was about 20 years old. When I left, 23 years later, I was 43 years old. That means that I spent more than half of my life serving that church. I can tell you how bad it is. When I joined that church at 20 years old, they offered me $100. And that was okay. You know what? Because in 1982, $100 a weekend was okay because my apartment was $300. 23 years later, that church, let me not say how much they were giving me, but it didn't double. 23 years later, no, it didn't double. 23 years later, I was married with 2 children, a mortgage in New York City. And that church did not double what they first gave me in 1982. Now, let me tell you how bad our churches are. During the last 7 to 10 years that I was there, 3 pastors, 3, not 1, I mean 1, 2, 3, 3 consecutive pastors, they fought with the church board to give Asel a $25 raise. None of them could get that church board to give me $25 raise. One of them, who was not on my best list, who came toward the 15th year, I remember he told that board, if only you gave ourselves $5 raise every year, after 15 years, if you gave him $5 raise, it would have been a lot more than $100. That church board that Sunday evening caused that pastor to storm out of the business meeting, of the board meeting. But you know, I had some folks in there that were on my side that really wanted to see it happen. They called me and they told me about it. But you know what? I stayed there. And I learned. And I allowed it to happen. And I will tell my professional musicians not to make that mistake ever again. Do not allow those well-established, capable SDA churches to treat you like dogs. You
You
have
know,
to determine your worth.
yeah.
Mercy.
You know, my
You
dad shared. Go ahead, Satsu. Sorry. Go ahead.
no. Let me hear what you say. Let me say. Your
Yeah.
dad.
My dad shared an experience with me. My dad went to one of the larger churches in Berbice, Guyana, New Amsterdam, and he said he was the organist. Told me two stories. He said his mom was his piano teacher, right? And then it's like Beethoven, you go to a specialist. So my grandmother would teach him at home. And I was growing up as a boy, the piano in the house was one of those things that you had to pump. Right? Those pump
The
pianos.
piano had a pump.
Yeah. No, them old time things, man, or organ, whatever it was. But she used to
I know
take
the
him.
organ had a pump,
Right.
but
But she used to take him. She used to take him to the church on Wednesdays. I think the Adventist church to practice. And I guess at some point one of the elders said, "You know what? I'm going to stop this from happening." So he locked the church. When they show up, he just closed up all the doors, man. He closed up the doors, right? And then my dad told me, as the church organist, I think he was making like $25 a month. And they had a new pastor. I'm not going to call the pastor's name. And the pastor showed up, and when he found out that Fatlin was being paid as the organist, he said, no, that can't happen. Well, they had a church board meeting. My dad was a member of the board, so he had to step out because part of the proceedings had to do with him, right? And the man said, "Nah, we can't pay Fadlin anymore." So they stopped paying my dad. So one Sunday, my dad was dressed in his suit waiting on a cab to go to one of these churches a Sunday morning, and the pastor saw him and said, "So where you going, Fadlin?" He said, "I'm going to where they pay me." You know?
That's it.
Yeah, I'm
That's
going
right.
to where they pay me.
Listen,
Uh,
Courtney. Listen to this. I
Okay, I see where you get it from now. I see where you get it from.
I I also what I also like to make a comment about the concern about church musicians playing secular music. Let me tell you, back in the 80s, when the church was paying me $100, $100 per Saturday, that was $400 a month back in the 80s. And people were, I mean, everybody thought I was the best musician, the biggest thing on the planet to that church. That's all they were giving me. But meanwhile, every time I got called to do a secular gig, I got anything I wanted from you name it in New York. From playing with Al Jarreau, from playing with the biggest name on the Caribbean market, from playing with Mighty Sparrow back in the soca days. I did a couple of gigs with him. You name it, the biggest Haitian bands. And let me tell you,
Producing for all those big Haitian bands too.
but producing is no big deal. Producing is no big deal because that's in my studio. But when they tend to point the finger at you for going to play live. Let me tell you something. Sometime in the 80s, there was this band called La Corde that had a gig in Canada, in Montreal, Canada.
Oh my goodness.
They couldn't find the right keyboard player to do about 12 to 14 songs. When they called me, I said, "You want me to leave Queens and play with you to Montreal, Canada?" I charged them $3,000. What would you do? And they paid me upfront $3,000 for one gig.
I know Sammy
Yeah,
taking it.
you're sitting around. You're sitting around pointing the fingers and telling your church musician that they are so good, they are so talented, but you pay them $100, and then you want to chuck them when they take a gig on the road. Yeah, keep on talking. $3,000.
Yeah. All right, we want to welcome Minister Ian Greaves to the platform. Minister
Welcome.
Greaves, what's going on, man? We just having a
Greetings,
discussion.
everybody.
We're just talking.
I am so
Yeah, so,
very blessed.
Yeah, man. Ian is
I'm
Is
excited.
it-
Me like the talk, man. Especially when it comes to dealing with the whole aspect of music and the arts.
yeah, man. Tell the people what you do, man. Ian, you're frozen. You like the movie Frozen. Ian is a
So
singer,
while oh, okay.
I
songwriter,
don't know if you're hearing
pastor.
me or we have a delay.
Welcome back.
Okay, what happened? What happened? What,
You're frozen.
You were frozen.
You're
He
like an
might
God
Antarctica.
of mercy.
he might have to refresh.
Hey, God bless you so very much. Are you hearing me out there?
We're hearing you,
I'm
but you're frozen.
What's going on?
Just keep talking. We could see a
Do
picture.
I refresh and return?
You could talk because we still see your handsome face. It's all right.
Frozen, but I'm chosen. Okay. Grace and peace be multiplied to you from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. You, Minister Courtney Fadlin, for this opportunity to come on and share with you.
Share with your friends, people. Those of us who are watching. Share with your friends. Share with your friends. Tell them to come on. Put in your comment. You're frozen, but you could still talk. We can hear you.
The reception is probably rough, man.
Yeah. And Sammy, you were saying something. You wanted to say something.
Yeah. While he's thawing out, um, while he's thawing out.
Yeah.
Wait, it looked like Arcel is frozen too.
No, he's not
Arcel is
frozen.
You were falling asleep, Arcel? No. What I just wanted to say in reference to Barbara that I was just going to do a shameless plug and tell her that she needs to get the hybrid executive book to give her some insight in reference to the questions that she had. But I also wanted to ask
Asel?
Pastor Soft, because Barbara spoke about playing classical music in the military band, right? Because remember we were just talking about, if you're a music minister and you take a gig in the dance hall. So I wanted to know from his perspective if playing classical music in the military band was okay, and what would have been the difference between, you playing in the dance hall and you're playing in the military band. Now in the military band, she's playing what? Standards and classical music and things of that nature. In the
Play
dance
everything.
hall,
Play everything.
so you play everything, right? So I just
Yeah.
wanted to get a perspective from Pastor Soft as to, is from a music minister standpoint, the way he sees it, is that something that's allowable, or is that a benchmark that he wouldn't be able to cross on that aspect, or is it just across the board he doesn't do any secular at all? So I just wanted to get a perspective. So
but remember I said that you can actually minister with your gift. So if she's actually doing it for a military band, of course, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
well, she's playing secular now.
Okay, she's playing secular.
Yeah, in the military band.
Okay, but is she like a music minister in the church?
I don't know.
Yes, I do that too.
Oh, so you're okay. So she's also a music minister.
I'm an all-rounder.
She's an
Okay.
no. So
I like that part. You say I'm all right. Meaning that you can do all things through Christ that strengthens you, right?
that's right.
You can do all things.
I am also. I have been a music minister before in the SDA circuits. I am still a music minister today, but not for the SDA circuit. So I'm just like Fadlin's dad. I go where they pay me. So, for me it's a little bit different.
That's so
but
funny, man.
I'm a music minister as well. So in terms of what gigs I will choose. You know, so I've always been rebellious for a while. So there are things I will do that I will get away with that some people is just a no-no. You know, so that's why a lot of times I'll tell folks, you know what, it's a personal thing for you. You know, if you need to you know, search yourself and see if that's going to conflict, you know, if you're going to feel conflicted, then don't do it.
Convicted.
If you feel right, well, some people are conflicted. You know, I've seen so many crazy stuff. I was playing. I remember playing with. This gospel group one time, and this brother was on guitar, and he was, one of the most amazing guitarists you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And he was conflicted because he felt that being on any stage, whether it's in a church or anywhere else, that he has to downplay himself. So he literally so while we were on stage, he's playing with the band, right? There's a gospel, like a Southern gospel style group. This is the brothers with the jerry curls and stuff, and you know, like Mighty Clouds of Joy and that kind of stuff. This brother, you know, he had on a blazer, right? He pulled the lapel, he pulled it up as a way to downplay himself while he's playing the guitar. So after the performance, I'm like, what are you doing? He says, well, you know, I'm playing, I'm before the Lord, and he's this, and, you know, he can't really. And I'm like, look, Elvis Presley did a gospel album. It's still selling today. What are you worried about? And then he was like, you know, you're right. I was like, Pat Boone did a gospel album. What are you worried about? Oh, Pat Boone did a gospel album? Yeah. I'm like, you putting your lapel up like this, I mean, what's that going to do? You're still, you know, it's like, it's like a guy going in a plane and trying to hold his weight up. Like, really? Like, if you let all your weight down, the plane ain't going to fly?
The man wants to show that he's holy. You know.
So, I mean, so some people have all types of issues when coming to, you know, if they're going to be a musician and play in church, or they're going to, you know, follow. So I don't get into all of that. If you feel that you're conflicted and, you know, you have a certain situation, you know, do you.
Yeah.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah. You know,
I work with how I work. I keep it moving.
Asel mentioned earlier, I need to point out a couple of things. Asel, he mentioned that if he had to choose between, if you're not paying him in the church and he had to drive a cab and still doing music, then you just say, hey, music ain't working, and let me just drive the cab. And that's how I felt, because persons would see me and you're doing the music and they think that, oh, why don't you get a regular job? But as you say, when you have to go to work 5 days a week and then on the weekends you have to do music, you're tired. And then you can't even perform your best, right? So I want to share a little story. When I started playing the saxophone in Jamaica, you know, my dad in Guyana started playing piano, play pan. And then when I get to Jamaica, you know, my dad started teaching me violin and clarinet. And at some point when they left and I was in Jamaica, I started playing. I need to make money, right? And I started playing in a reggae band. I started playing in a reggae band in Mandeville. And there's a place, Mandeville is Skateland. Everybody going to skate, right? So the guys, we had a band and we used to practice at Skateland. And one of the shows we had, I don't know, Sammy, you would know the group Culture. You know the Rasta group, the reggae group Culture?
Yeah, man.
So you know Culture, when they're rehearsing, that whole night, boy, I didn't smoke. But the amount of ganja that was in that room, because those guys had some big chalices, right? And the whole night I was like, man, I said, I don't think this is. And so Sam Soft was talking about where you end up being, you know, as a Christian, you could do, if you choose to do the secular, I think he had said earlier, but then the environment, right? So I know, I was like, man, this is not a good environment for me. But this guy smoked the weed all night. It was an intense thing. And then the next morning, a pastor friend of mine, Pastor Michael Henry, came to see me. Someone told me, he's like, yeah, Fadlin down at Skateland rehearsing. And I felt so embarrassed because just as you enter the premises, you know, you don't have to ask. It's so the cloud thick and the smell, you know. So I'm
The
saying all
herb
this.
is for the healing of the nation, by the way. Go ahead.
But I'm saying this to say that after that, and getting older and getting serious with music, I chose not to be in those environments. You know, I don't knock people for doing what they have to do, but for me, I like being in church. I like ministering in churches. I just don't like to be taken advantage of. I play for free. I don't have a problem playing for free, but you can't keep calling people over and over. You know, you show up. Can you come and play for us? You know, I love it. You know, and man, I just want to be an inspiration to the next generation. One of my former students in Jamaica emailed me this morning, and he said, "Mr. Fadlin, thank you for the music. I appreciate what you've been doing, and you have inspired me because very excellent." I'm not gonna say which instrument he plays because the guys in Jamaica, some of them would know who I'm talking about. But he was an awesome musician. He still is, but he hasn't been practicing. He said, watching the concert last night, I pick up my instrument and I start practicing.
Mm.
He said you've been an inspiration, and that's what we have to be. We got to pass on something. You have to be an inspiration to people, and you know, man. So I just commend all of you for the great work you've been doing. Asel, your concerts. I miss Asel Junior Friday night gone, but I appreciate your contribution to the body of Christ and just to music in general. I appreciate you blessing me ever so often. Asel will come and if he put anything in the kitty, that would be the only thing I'd get. I appreciate that, but always an encouraging word. And it's important as musicians that we tell others and we say, "Hey, what you did, I didn't like that. You could have done this here," or not so harshly. You said, "Make sure you improve on this line or certain things." And it's very, very important. Rather than lie and tell people, "Yeah, man, it sounds good, man." You have to be honest. We have to be honest with each other. It's like your tone, you were sharp, you were flat. You need to change your reeds, you know, change your jacket, whatever it is, you know. And it's very, very important. And keep it real because, to be honest, if we go to churches or as artists or as just someone who the head of the music, the choir, whatever, you have to present yourself properly because people do look at what you're doing. Shine your shoes. All of these things is very important, you know. So I appreciate and love you guys for coming on, man. Some more. I mean, we're supposed to have Norva Altino, but he said he's been having problems getting on. I wanted Norva to come and talk because Norva from time to time would put up his post and on Facebook and and but one of the things that we're trying to push is that we have to be together in this. We have to be together to be strong. Like Asel, Barbara loves music. I mean, she loves it. She wants so much to get to the next level on her saxophone. She's a mother and she's in the army. Okay, we have a question. Donna Johnson's asking, do you as an artist have a writer? Do you outline your expectations in writing? I'd let you guys a contract basically. You guys.
I have that if someone is requesting me to perform as an artist, because I have different hats. But as an artist, it may not be set out like a writer per se, but a lot of the concepts and the precepts in that writer I outline. I am not putting the key in the ignition. I'm not putting any gas in the car.
That's
I'm
right.
not buying a plane ticket unless that is set and there's some kind of down payment to make that move.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
Hey guys, can I just say something? I don't know if you guys, Aretha Franklin, right? They always say that when you see her with that purse, you have to pay her first before she starts playing.
Oh, yeah.
So no pay, no play, right? I started something like that, and some people work with it and others don't. I mean, there's a time when you have persons who book you like for a month before their event, right?
Then they
And they
cancel it.
said they want an invoice and stuff like that, especially government agencies. And you give them a fancy invoice and all that, and then you write conditions, terms and conditions, and you write payment must be made at least 3 days or 5 days before or after the show, da 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 da. And then when you finish playing and you're expecting your check or your money in hand, they're telling you some stories.
Well,
And I mean, if I didn't come to your event, then you would have a problem,
but
right?
Barbara,
You would say, I'm a no-show.
Barbara, not cutting you, right?
Yes,
It's a Caribbean thing. I could
it's a
tell you,
Caribbean thing.
living and playing in Jamaica, that's how it is. You're not gonna get your money the same way. I went to Guyana. I went to Guyana as an artist, and I
Yes,
sent my contract. They signed the contract and everything. My ticket, accommodation, everything was taken care of, and I was supposed to
yes,
get my money. And when I went to a government office, I had to sign this big ledger. I didn't even know those things still in existence.
yes.
I had to
Was it
sign like
was
three
it
of
like
them.
one of them big notebook that you take over the whole table?
No, that's not notebook. It's a ledger. A big thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it take over the whole thing. Right? I had to sign in
Pleasure.
three.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
right. Three places. And so I spent this time in Guyana. I end up coming back to the States. What I received, I think I received my per diem, but my actual pay, I didn't get it till a month after.
Oh
So
my God.
it had to take my cousin to go to the Bank of Guyana with this check, and I was like, that's not what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to have US dollars in an envelope, but because I understand that's how the government operates in the Caribbean,
Yes.
and living in
It's like,
Jamaica, that's the thing in
yes.
Jamaica. You never get your money out. You never would get it right to a barber. So as long as the government, you will get paid, but don't expect it the same day you perform.
How
Well,
about
in
like
some
wedding?
aspects, so Barbara, in some aspects, this is where a good manager comes in. So then the
Yes.
manager would actually, if they book you in time, if it's not like a short type of thing, if it's not like a today for tomorrow or this today for next week sort of thing, if it's something that's booked a couple months in advance, it can be arranged where you actually get it the way it's supposed to be done. But that manager has to be on those people like every
Lies.
moment of the way,
Yeah.
so that you can actually get that check that evening.
The
Because
this government's still not gonna give you. I have a brother in Guyana
but
who's
look at it,
they're still not gonna pay you right away.
look at the thing, Fadlin. When they're doing Jazz Fest in the Caribbean,
Mhm.
you want to tell me that they're not locking down those
Or the big,
artists and
or
paying that money
those
that they're
big,
supposed to
those
pay?
big guys. Yes, they have to pay
They
that.
have
They're gonna
to.
do, yeah,
So,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's the same thing when Obama was going to Trinidad. You know what? Crime was down. They had police from all other islands going to Trinidad to
Mm-hmm.
take the crime down and clean the place up. It could be done.
Right.
But when you're locally there now, you have to set up, kind of like what
So-
Soph was saying.
So
You have to kind of set up yourself and put something in place, which is what needs to really start happening with a lot of these
Right.
different things.
What
So-
about like
so-
weddings?
hold on. Let me I just want to welcome Pastor Andre Campbell, and I'm to the platform, and I just want to say
He tore out.
yes, Donna. I know we would present contracts, but it's still what happened when you show up. Sometimes you get your money, the same day before you perform. And I've done that. I came to your church, Donna, and they took care of me. As a matter of fact, before I did my recording at the church the other day, my envelope was presented to me before I actually played a note. You understand?
Amen,
And I appreciate
amen.
that. I appreciate that. You guys have always been kind to me. And
Amen.
Pastor Campbell, this is one of the dudes that always look out for me. Wherever he goes, he would bring me to perform. If he got to take the money from his own pocket, pay my airfare,
All
pay
right.
me, put me up at a nice hotel,
Glory
and
be
he
to
still
God.
take you out to dinner.
That's
Right?
That's right.
Right.
I got the pictures.
Yeah. So but it's good to have this conversation. So welcome, man. Let's give Minister Ian, now that he got some good internet and he get
He
all his
tore out. He
get
tore
all his
out.
certificates
He was
behind him.
frozen, but he
He
tore
went
out
into
now.
the upper room with his certificates.
Well, if we're gonna go there, we can go there, because I see behind you that you have been doing some artwork, and you're an artist. Thank God for that.
No, my wife bought those.
Praise the Lord. See, some things you pay for, and other things you pray for. But
My
you
God.
paid for that, so give God thanks and praise.
Yes.
Listen, my buddy, my friend, my comrade, partner in good crimes,
Amen.
Minister Courtney Fadlin, and it's a pleasure just being here on a panel that discuss things like music. And I haven't heard everything, but from what I am hearing is that we're talking about honoring those who are on this panel, properly honoring us. And if I'm wrong, just put your finger up, not the middle, but put your finger up. Just let me know if I'm wrong. Courtney, you know your behavior. But if you're right, put the thumb finger up. That means the apostolic is in the house. If you put up this finger, it means that something is getting ready to point us in the right direction. If you put this one up, the third one, it means we're going to have an evangelistic discussion, because we're stretching ourselves further. If you put this one, somebody's getting ready to be married. And if you put up the little one, that means, you know, there is much more to come after the marriage. Good God Almighty. So we are in the right conversation.
I never heard that.
That's
Don't worry about it. Tomorrow when you wake up, you will get.
You get it tomorrow.
But this has been one of the passions of my heart, and also for Courtney. And this forum is so wonderful that we understand that the call on our lives is beyond the money that you can pay us. And if people, first of all, understand who we are as an individual, what we bring to the table as an individual, it should not cause any commotion as to what we are worth. Now, there are people who want quality, but they're not willing to pay for the quality that they want, but they want it. And when you present, and I heard Minister Gordon talking about a contract, when you present a contract to them, they begin to give you the religious conversation. I don't want a religious conversation from you. It's either you can afford me or you can't. If not, we come to a negotiating table. Are you there? We come to a negotiating table where we can say, okay, my brother, my sister, we need your service because the ministry you carry, I need it in my house. You have some oil in your life, and this oil needs to come to my house. And based on that, if you believe what I have to share or offer is going to benefit you, you have to think like the Word of God says, don't muzzle the ox that tread the corn.
That's right.
And if we are treading corn, you are a recipient of what we are treading. And you are receiving something out of what we are bringing to the table. So don't look at us and second guess us and shortchange us and expect us to just say, praise the Lord, hallelujah. There is something that I believe in, and is the fivefold ministry. Look at my hands, 5, and then I fold it. That means a fight is going to take place. Physical fight. I'm spiritual, but I'm also physical. So I'm not using that to turn anyone off. But we need to understand that from Genesis all the way to Revelation, if you check who brought in a certain dimension to keep the foundation solid, it was the Levites and the psalmists that God put in place. No foundation was ever laid except they had the singers and the psalmists there. They know what we carry, but yet they try to make it look like if it is for God. Yes, we know it's for God. That's why we're doing it. We are doing it because we know it's for God. Are you with me? We are not deaf or dumb when it comes to what we are doing. We are ministers. But before we became saved, we had a talent that was downloaded to us from God. So I came into the church with my talent. After I get saved, I didn't get my talent. I brought my talent in the house, and God just anointed for the level or for the service that he wants. But in my service, remember the word here is service. And because we're giving you goods and service, we should be compensated for our service.
So you.
Okay, so now you take me to a restaurant, and based on the service I get from that waiter, I will give him a tip based on his service.
Man.
But that's not his worth. But I'm recognizing his service, because you really and truly can't pay us for who we are. We are more valuable than $100, $200, $300. We are more valuable. So what you're actually doing is saying, you know what? You've been a blessing to us. And we in turn want to do like what Paul said. I have given you spiritual things. So it's time for you to give me some physical things. Our medium of exchange is this. And some of us have said this for years, and Courtney, you and I, we talk, and let's tell the people there are times when we cuss with one another on the phone, but the cussing we do is not the bad language. Hello, there's indecent language, and then there's cussing. Come on. Cussing to us is actually fussing. Where we fuss with one another and say, hey, man, this thing got to stop. So we don't use bad language or indecent language. But, you know, we fuss with each other. We talk about some things. And one of the things that we say all the time is this. People know who we are. We don't have to go and sell ourselves. You know who we are. You've seen our work over the years. But yet you give us these spiritual, religious conversations to literally break us down to a point where we feel less than we really are, and then we settle. Once you settle, Courtney, Samuel, Asel, said it right? Andre, Barbara, once we settle, the first time we settle for less, that becomes our standard. That becomes,
That's it.
are you with me?
Yeah.
That
That's
becomes
right.
the standard that they judge us, and they rate us by a standard, because they broke us down to the point where they believe these guys really need this money. See, even if we get them $100, they're gonna be all right. So they break us down to make us
That's
look
right.
like beggars, when from the Bible says the Levites were supposed to be taken care of by the fat, not the lean. I'm talking about the fat, but we get the lean. Because they look at us because we don't have a title as bishop or pastor or apostle. Now we have to reinvent ourselves, become apostles and bishops with the gift.
Well.
You follow? So for us to be accepted, we got to jump into being a bishop when we're not called to be a bishop.
That's
The
right.
psalmist has the same kind of level of responsibility, and the musician and the minstrel. Now we talking about minstrels. We have the same responsibility, just like those who carry those titles, because we're all doing service for God. But the service must be appreciated, and you only can appreciate somebody if you increase them in value. If I come to you and you say to me, Barbara, gone right down to my language, right? That I'm a guy American from the back dam, so I could go down the road and we can get polished as well as unpolished. Barbara, you begin to operate in your realm, and you giving a service to people, and they're seeing you. Oh, that's just Sax girl. Oh, there's just Courtney. There's just Ian. There's just Samuel. And so they label us based on the name that they know us by, but they never appreciate us by the call on our lives. We have a call, and it's that call that is keeping us from going crazy, because some people will make you go crazy when you go looking for your check.
Shababa.
Are you with me? And
Yes,
when
I
you get
do.
crazy, on them, then they start calling you, don't worry with the one. Who's the one? That's the same one you come to, and you were asking that one to come and sing for you and play sax for you. But now we become the one because we are flexing our muscles, and you did not increase us in value.
Yeah.
When you appreciate me, what you're saying, sir, the house that you came to, before you came in this house, the value was $100,000. But the moment you move into this house, it went up to 200,000.
Oh, Shabba.
Good God Almighty. No, don't get me started. That's why I'm saying we have to change our titles
Yes,
from
sir.
becoming psalmists and minstrels to putting on doctor and all of this name that they're trying to label us by to get a little money out of your pocket. Shame on you.
Yeah. You know, before we bring in,
Okay.
but
Thank you, Jesus.
yes, man, I
Those
love
are
that.
so
I
much
love
I'm
that.
passionate, and Courtney knows that this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
how we roll.
Please
daily.
bless
So
up,
Yeah.
man.
I'm just
Please
talking
bless
to
up.
you.
I
I
Yeah,
ain't
yeah.
got nothing else.
Praise you,
Yeah,
Lord.
that was, you
What a
know,
word. What a
yeah,
word, right?
yeah.
You know,
Before I bring in Pastor Andre, you know, based on what Asel talked about, first he started out by talking that he's comfortable and he's happy and giving praise to the pastor that has been taking care of him for the past 15 years. And I must say, too, that I was trying to explain to Nadine earlier that I'm not complaining that like life is bad and it's this, but I was just highlighting some situations that people should realize that this is what's happening. You understand? Like Ian knows, Ian and I have gone places. Like the question was asked about contracts, and sometimes because we know individuals, we kind of just
Work
people
with
come
them.
to you. Yeah, people say, well, you know, I don't have to go through the manager and stuff like that. I give you an example. I left Massachusetts, went to New York to a church. I drove through a storm. My friend had to rent a car for me. This is way back in the day. I had no credit card, went to Avis. I should have gotten shares in Avis, you know. Anyway, I rented a car, drove to New York to a church in White Plains in the Bronx. And the gentleman said to me before I got in New York, he said, listen, even when you get here, I'll make sure you're taken care of, your rental, and even if I have to go into my own pocket. I went to the concert. I just see the attitude, set up my CDs. Nobody buying CDs. So the person I was with, I said, you know, I'm going to pack up my CDs. This is many years ago. I think my first or second album. And so I decided I'm going to leave. I finished playing. I went to the guy. I said, hey, man, I'm ready to jet. And he says to me, the treasurer went home. I said, bro, the person that rented the car for me, he's a dad with he had 2 young kids, and he's the breadwinner. I can't do that. Usually when I rent a car, I don't leave it in a card. I just pay for it. The same time I get back, I pay for it. He said, yeah, I understand. You know, we could be great friends. I said, that's not about friendship right now, man. I need the money. I went to the pastor, and the pastor says to me, yes, Mark. Yeah.
I saw that. Go ahead.
I went to the pastor. I said, listen, man, homeboy says so he's gonna give me my money, and I have a rent a car to pay tomorrow, Sunday. He's like, oh yeah, well we don't have this, that. I said, pastor, I'm gonna tell you right now, up to this day, I don't respect that pastor. When I see him, I'm cordial to the guy. I was like, hey, how are you? But I don't. You have no integrity, because as a pastor, and I'm telling you what took place, and you didn't have it in you to just make sure you find my money. Anyway, that was a Sabbath, right? That was a Saturday. He said he's going to send the money the Monday. Of course, Tuesday came. I wasn't looking for it. I said, let me give him an extra day. Wednesday, I called the gentleman. And he told me that the treasurer mother died in Barbados and went home.
Nancy's story. Go ahead.
So I said, buddy, just so I said, buddy, what the hell I got to do with me? Thursday came. I said, you need to mail my money. Thursday came. Of course, he didn't send it Wednesday, so there's nothing to look out for Thursday. Friday came. And Friday night, I called him and I give him a tongue lashing by. And then I went to New York the Saturday. I went to Brooklyn Temple Church and I called him from a payphone. Those are the days of payphone.
Mercy.
I called him. I said, this is my conversation with him. I said, what's your address? I said, someone is coming right now to have my money. And I said, if you don't have my money, I know the vehicle you're driving, I'm gonna slash your 4 tires. I went gangster. I said, I'm gonna slash your 4 tires. I'm serious. I was very angry. It wasn't nice of me. It wasn't nice of me to say that, but the man hurt me.
You get cross,
Right?
Courtney.
I said, I slash your 4 tires.
Felon went gangster, boy.
And I call a friend of mine. I said,
Nuclear, you call it. Nuclear.
I call a friend of mine and said, this is the address. Show up at the door. This man is going to have my money. And I told that guy, so listen, even if you have $1 million, don't call me. I am saying all of this to say you have to be careful of the relationships you have.
Yeah.
Because if you're good to me, if you take care of me and you've been taking care of me, Asel could call on me, Sam, any one of you could call on me to do something. I'm not looking for anything. Because you're my friend, you're my brother, you're my sister, and you have been there for me. So if you are accustomed to taking advantage of people, then at some point we're going to say, but let's cut you off. And when I cut you off, I cut you off. And so I want persons to understand it's not that people we're saying that, hey, everything is about money. Yes, it's your job, but be fair to people, especially when it comes to the church. Don't hold on the money like if it's your money. It's the church's money. You know what I'm saying? You're not going into your pocket.
When you stand up for your money, they don't want to hire you again.
You know, but I'm giving thanks. I'm giving thanks, and I just want to encourage those who are listening who wants to do full-time ministry. It's harder now than maybe 5 years ago because since you could download CDs, download stuff, you know, and the media they're ripping us off, you know. But I'm still giving thanks to my friends, giving thanks to my family. Thank you guys for coming on. We're gonna hear from Andre, and then we're gonna try to wrap up. We've been talking a long time.
You know, technology is ripping us off as well. Technology is ripping us off too, because if you normally play the sax in the studio, some horn lines, no, they can just replicate that with the different software that they have now, you know, drum machine and
it's still not the same. They could
sample it. There's a sample.
The sample, but it's nothing like the real thing.
That's right. That's right.
But they don't want to pay. It's cutting costs for them, right?
Yeah, but you know what? It's gonna be okay. You know, we're still gonna remain faithful, and we're still gonna do it. And you do it with love. And people know we're not complaining. It's a conversation. All right. You see, I'm smiling.
That's what we call it. Conversation.
It's a conversation. Hey, man, a conversation about music, ministry, and life. Pastor Andre, welcome, man. Welcome.
Man. And I know the time is long gone, so I'm only going to contribute a one-liner. You're not complaining. You're just explaining.
Jeez.
All right. And so,
Guys, how about you go to a wedding, right?
That's where the offering
and like the wedding should start at 3. How about you go to a wedding that should start at 3, and then the wedding is like 2 hours late, and you're like, you have to pay me some more because I had to wait all that time. Worse if you had another event afterwards. You know, how do you cope with stuff like that? Because pastors are charging.
It's in your contract.
For you to have a late fee and stuff like that.
No, in the States, if you're doing a wedding and you get a string quartet and you get a violinist and those guys worked with a union, when you come and says the wedding is from 3 to 4, you want an extra. It costs X amount for an extra hour. So you have to put that in your contract. When you're doing weddings, that's why I don't do weddings. I do
You don't
weddings.
do weddings?
I don't play for weddings. I play for a friend's wedding or a
That's
relative's
right.
wedding. I don't
That's
play.
right.
I don't take it as a job because I got to go sit
Oh,
down there and I'm gonna be late. I don't deal with that. So, but you have to put in your contract. But Andre, I want to hear something more from you, man. Tell us something
man.
before we go, man, and
So
then we're gonna.
let me for
Well-
weddings, especially in the Caribbean,
Or
they pick me
Africa.
up. You do the wedding, you lime, you eat some food.
Uh,
You get dropped back home, you're straight. That's it. Don't worry about no
Done.
money in the Caribbean.
no money, no money. Yeah. And you're gonna get some. You're gonna get some good food.
A blessing.
You eat. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Eat some food. You'll be all right.
We get ready for the 2-hour waiting time.
Oh, you'll be liming. You'll definitely be liming.
That's normal. It's West Indian
but they
wedding.
want you to play. They want you to play a prelude like you're a DJ.
Just
Oh, yeah,
get
you gotta
used to
play.
it.
You
You're
gotta
right,
play.
right. Now,
I
I
almost.
don't do weddings. I don't do
Yeah.
weddings except highly
Yeah.
paid weddings.
I-
Or if I attend a friend's wedding, but a regular church member wedding, don't call me because I'm going to bill you something that you can't afford anyway. That's because I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
How
I
about funerals?
some guys nearly beat me up in Connecticut, right? Myself and Conrad Roach did a wedding in Connecticut, in Hartford, Connecticut. And the bride said to me, "This is what I want you to play. Nothing more, nothing less. You're going to play so. I got to the wedding and it was long. So she said, "You're going to play at a certain point." So at a certain point, I stopped playing and I pack up my saxophone. And the groom and his groomsmen, they were drunk. And these guys come and start telling me I got to play more music. I said, no. The bride is the one that signed my contract. And this is what she says. So, yeah. And so,
All right.
these guys didn't beat me up, man. Beat me up. Anyway, let's hear from Andre, and then we're going to go into a video, play something out for these people. And people just drop us an email, make your comment. We're going to do this again.
Yeah.
All of us, we are available for bookings. You could have the information. Production by Sam Archer. Production by Astel Jean-Pierre. And you want a good preacher, you call Ian and he's going to sing. You want Pastor Andre, get more tissue. You would play, you would pray, preach, and sing. I don't know how many persons know that Andre is a bad singer. He can sing.
That's right. That's
Dude
right.
can sing. I've been trying to get him to come and to sing, but I'm looking forward. He's coming out with his clothing line. What is it? God's
Child of God.
Child of God. That was close.
Pastor Andre,
Yeah.
I am still waiting for that character you're going to build that's going to be using my voice in that production you're doing that we spoke about 10 years ago.
It broke up. Dude.
It's not happening anymore?
I hear you now.
Oh, yeah. You remember you were doing like a Veggie Tales type thing?
Yes, man.
Yeah, and you need a character with my voice.
Yeah.
So I'm still waiting. I don't know what it's going to be. If it's going to be a carrot, a cucumber, a lettuce.
You know what? We're gonna be
It has to be from Tobago.
What's that big green one with all the bumps all over it?
Soursop.
Soursop.
Soursop. All right. Let's do that one.
Yeah, Andre, give us something, man. Talk to us about music and ministry, and as a pastor, your experience, and give us some biblical references and all of that.
What?
Tell us something,
Is that
man.
somebody
Tell us
I
something.
want?
Now you're asking for too much, man.
He could tell us that in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, man. He's good at that.
You know, in a really, serious vein of it, I think that what we're facing is kind of like the systemic racism of the past that we're now confronting. We're confronting racism, sexism, all these different isms are being confronted because they've really run their course and people are sick and tired of it. And I think that what I've experienced in church is that people have been so used to getting music for free. You nurture, they say, well, we invested in this young person, get them ready to serve. And then they work them until they're 100 or until they leave for college.
Mm.
And we pay pastors, we pay teachers, and that's a issue because that's like pulling teeth for the conference to agree to that. So maybe just like now when they say defund the police, they don't mean get rid of the police. They mean that we need to arrange the funding in such a way that we actually meet the actual needs. And let me tell you, and I can say it, that music is a need in worship, in the corporate worship setting. It is where the sermon might go for an hour. I might preach for an hour, and you get nothing out of what I say. But the song, the psalmist, the ministration of music also shares the gospel. So that and a lot goes into that. So I think it's time to restructure the financial setup of our church. The mindset that it's time for the higher organization, the corporate organization, to realize that it needs to leave more funding available at home. The local, what corporation do you know? And I know some folks say, well, the church is not a corporation. Let me tell you something. It's a corporation. All right? It's a corporation. The church is the body of believers. There's an organization that runs that. And it's time to saying was, what corporation do you know that doesn't take care of its local, invest in its local bodies, its franchises? And I think it's time to redo that so that we can have a higher quality of what's going on. Now that we have the COVID situation, I think that musicians are even being taken even more advantage of, because the amount of work that's being asked of Brother Sel, the amount of work I'm sure is being asked of Brother Sam and others, is over and beyond what was ever asked. And nobody sees what all the work that goes on behind the scenes. Brother Sel, you start sitting up when I start saying that, man. So it's time to rearrange the way the money flows and to incorporate and include all of the important aspects. And those are my 2 cents, man. I believe in taking care of our musicians. I believe they're such an important part of the ministry. Matter of fact, sometimes I'd rather have the music than the preaching. I'll tell you the truth.
Now, for those of you who may not know about Pastor Andrea, let me tell you something. Yeah, you're smiling, but I mean, how can I say this without saying too much? My ministry is what it is at my current church, blessed by the senior pastor and especially the associate pastor. When Pastor Campbell was there, he was my associate pastor. And I will tell you, Courtney, we had some days where my ministry was pretty much over there. But this guy right here, he stood his ground. He stood his ground against a church board that was determined to do me wrong. And like I said, the leadership makes a big difference. And 15 years later, I'm still there. And I can say I'm probably one of the most well-treated and cared for SDA musicians around. My church does me right. And that came from our senior pastors standing firm, and that church board that Sunday afternoon that tried everything in the world, but Pastor Campbell said, you're not crossing that line. We have a great musician. We got to do him right. But without his standing firm and validating the package that I brought to the church, I wouldn't have been there. And look at it. Now it's 15 years later. I tell you, everybody's blessed. Everybody's blessed. Thank you.
I would do it again, man. I'll do it again.
Well, I just want to thank you guys. I know the night has been long spent, and we could spend another few hours. And I know Barbara and we have young kids, and we got to put them to bed. Barbara is actually in bed. Yeah, but this is a good conversation, and definitely we're going to repeat this next week, and just talk about different things. But guys, we want to do whatever we're doing, we do it with excellence. Right. Don't try to shortcut the situation. if you want Courtney Fadlin to play at your event,
That's right.
and Courtney Fadlin said this is his fee, and Carl said this is his fee, don't go and get somebody who just started playing saxophone last week.
That's right.
Right? You want something to be produced, well produced, you contact Sam, you contact Assel. Don't try to go to the other guy. It's better to say if the person said to do a track is 1,500 and you want to do 5 tracks, it's best to try to negotiate with the person. But don't go around. We have the attitude of saying to persons, "Oh, he's expensive," without actually having deal with that person before. We like to say, "Oh, he's expensive," but what is expensive? What do we consider expensive? So I'm going to ask us to be careful the way we say things, and don't try to discredit what we do, and be nice as Pastor Campbell. So I appreciate you guys, man. Love you guys. You guys have an awesome week. Stay COVID free. And we're going to continue this conversation because it's important. God bless you guys. And, okay, what's Barbara saying? Barbara said, oh, talk is cheap. But Barbara, stay strong in Jamaica. I know it's rough. And keep going. We don't quit. As artists, we don't quit. We were born to do this, and we're not going to quit. Whatever it is, we're not quitting. And we're going to fall down. We're going to get back up. But I want us to be there for each other. And stay strong, people. Aspiring artists, do the right thing. Don't try to cut corners. Buy proper instruments. Save up to get your instruments. And call us, talk to us. You need help? I'm willing to give help, but don't try to use people. Call us and we'll help you whatever way we can. We could work with you. So send us you could get everyone's information. If you don't already have it, drop me a message in my inbox and I could get that information to you. So we're just going to close out with Sam Soft, man. And we'll talk. Me and these guys, we catch up another time, man. Thanks, Assel. Thank you very much. And Andre and Barbara and Minister
Bye.
Ian and Samuel Archer. Thank you, Andre.
Yeah, man.
And then my producer, Andre Henry. Let me what Andre. What am I saying? Mark Henry. I'm calling his brother's Andre. Yeah, thank you, Mark. His family for always being so supportive, and it's been an awesome evening, man. Thank you guys so much. God
Thank
bless.
you so much, Courtney.
All right, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Good night.
Choir on the search. Zacchaeus, come back. I want to fellowship with you, be with you. Come to your home. Your home time has come. Your victory time has come. Come on, sir! I am a winner. I am a winner. I am a winner. Hey, everybody! I am a winner. Get it up! So we got a victory to overtake. Singing my victories. We got a victory to overtake. Flying my victories. We got a victory to overtake. Singing my victories. We got a victory to overtake. Flying my victory flag. Flying my victory flag. Say, flying my victory flag. My name is Soft. Oh, my name is Soft. Forget a God, the son of the Master. Hey, Zacchaeus, come down. I wanna fellowship with you, be with you, and come to your home. Your home time has come. Your victory time has come. Zacchaeus, come back. I wanna fellowship with you, be with you, and come to your home time has come. Hey! Your victory time has come. Victory song, I get my victory song, singing my victory song.